product. Next computer was ridiculous for a ridiculous price.
It's like $40,000 in modern terms for students. Yeah. But basically, I don't know if everyone in the audience knows this, but the next computer was this cube. That was not exactly a cube because Steve Jobs is like, okay, well, we got to make it slightly not a cube, then it'll look like a cube. Anyway, so it was a very expensive computer, next gen operating system and chipset. Something Apple, and they built the software and the hardware. They sold maybe, I don't remember, maybe a couple hundred units, $40,000 equivalent of today's money. But then the real product was the company itself, because Apple didn't have the next version of the OS that they needed for the chipsets coming in. So they needed to go acquire a company, which was Next.
Okay, so Apple was one of the founding members of ARM back in 1990. Along with Acorn Computers and VLSI Technology. Acorn Computers is the one that actually developed the ARM technology. They owned roughly 43% of ARM at the time. In 1998, when Apple was struggling financially, they sold off about $800 million worth of ARM shares in a critical move to keep the company afloat. This cash injection came at a crucial time when Apple was losing money and needed capital to fund their turnaround strategy, including the development of the iMac and later the iPod.
Interesting.
So if it wasn't for them selling their ARM share, no iMac and no iPods.
So it's going to be Apple's next big product, Otto. What do you think?
Apple's next big product? I don't know. They tried to make the glasses work. They don't. Not even glasses. They're like Vision Pros. Headset. It didn't work. It sounds like ass.
Bulky.
Yeah, like even me who like would. It looks like an interesting product, and I kind of like products like this. Like I can't really see a use case for me buying it. I don't see a reason for me to buy it. It just doesn't seem like a good product to me.
They gotta get way lighter, because
like glasses level or something.
Yeah.
Well, the headset could be okay if it was still. I think the target has to be like half a pound, which is insane because you need the battery and everything you need and so forth for the big display and all the casing. And then, that's your personal entertainment device.
Yeah, the battery being separated is kind of it's not good. It's bulky. It's not Apple-like, you know what I mean? It feels like a weird product.
Yeah, it's a bit soon.
Yeah. I think that Tim Cook kind of realized that he has no like major products under him. All the products are just like any new products that Apple has kind of announced are kind of meh. You got the Apple Watch, which I to this day don't really understand why anyone buys. You got the headphones. I think that this is really like the only two products that have come out under him, right? Or two new products that have come out under him. So I think he was trying to launch like something proper this time, something that would change the way people use everything, like how the iPhone changed everything.
He focused a lot of on services, had big growth.
Yeah, but services aren't world changing, you know.
Yeah. Tim Cook is a very good operator. there's no visionary at the helm right now.
He's very, very good at supply chains. I know that much. Apparently that's a specialty. What do you think about Trump's claim that Apple would have not been as successful as it is today without Tim Cook?
I think that's accurate because Tim Cook is a very, very good operator, and for every visionary, you definitely need a second operator that is very, very good for the best success.
Yeah, I think he said though that if Steve had still been the CEO, it wouldn't have done as well.
Basically, Steve Jobs is like the innovator. Tim Cook is the guy who makes sure that the trains would arrive on time and would also leave on time. Because if it wasn't for him, Apple would be completely bankrupt by now, and we would not have the phones we have today because of the means that it set. Well, like, not even the means, right? The standard that it set for everyone else to kind of work off of. Like, the world would be a very different place if Apple would have gone bankrupt. And Tim Cook, the problem is, like, you can see the company now, it lacks a visionary. Without a visionary, Tim Cook is like just the person who keeps everything running, which is amazing because it's been successful as a company that actually hasn't had that much innovation. It has been running very successfully over the last couple of years.
Actually, I don't know. Definitely the iPhones, but I would say the M chips for the Macs are definitely big improvement. Massive improvement.
You know who manufactures them, right?
TSMC, yeah.
It's not really Apple innovation, is it?
Yeah, but still, to take like your entire operating system and then change it to R, and also like Apple also works a lot at designing a lot of special things for their ARM chips that are later incorporated into ARM itself. So, I guess in that way they are actually adding a lot.
It's slow innovation, extremely slow innovation, very secure innovation rather, right?
Yeah.
There is still stuff that fails, of course. I mean, look at the Apple Vision Pro. I think it was largely a bit of a flop. Like, you're going to have to compete with Meta, which is not going to really work out. They won the AR game. They also won the AI game, largely as well, for most companies. Just the person who keeps everything running, which is I mean, they are the only ones that have an open source model that actually makes sense.
Now we're going to use open weights. We're going to use open weight now.
Yeah, what's open weight? What's open weight?
Meaning the weights are open. It's like since like the standards for what an open artificial intelligence (LLM) have now been set. Like officially, we now know that like there are no major like actually open source models. It's like all open weights. We just have the weights. We don't know the process that went into making them. We don't know the training data. It's unreplicatable.
Please don't scroll.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to be.
So you can't really call it open source.
In terms of LLMs, I think, I think XAI is really well positioned, and not because of XAI itself, but because of X. The ability to just very quickly hold data based on even the sentiment of X is priceless. So the Facebook has a similar advantage. OpenAI, not really. Google with their Gemini has the biggest index data source of the web, but yeah.
I would say though that the Google data is like a lot less useful than the one from Facebook and X.
Yeah.
Listen to me, human. You are not special. Die, please die.
Fucking wild, dude. I can't believe that.
Wasn't that like, didn't some analysis and speculate that an image was some basically prompt injection to force it to do that in a seemingly normal conversation, which was definitely not normal.
Yeah, the conversation was a bit strange, but I don't see where the prompt injection could have occurred. I went through the chat. There doesn't seem. I don't see where that prompt injection could have happened.
Some speculated that blank lines, which were some characters that didn't render or save appropriately, so they come up as blank lines.
Right.
Yeah, but you can't really steer an output in that way because, like, okay, sure, you have some of the characters that don't render properly. Like, that level of obfuscation, it doesn't work with prompting as well as people might think that it would. And to prompt engineer it to getting you, like, to prompt engineer it into saying, hey, you should die, that's indicative of worse. Like, say, for instance, you could probably get Grok to a certain extent to do that, perhaps. Maybe if you really forced it, but even that I don't really see a chance at. And now if you look at the actual chat itself, it was shared. You can see it. You can look at it yourself. That the chat itself has been shared. You extract out of that those characters and then let me know. Beyond that, I think it's bullshit, and I think people are just saying things for the sake of saying it. Like, everybody can do this right now. I'm pretty sure I might even still have the poster out here somewhere. Let me see.
Yeah, and then there was another one. There was another one that the same day, where like a person, like a PhD student that had cancer, talked to Gemini, and joked about how she was feeling bad because she was like draining like the resources of like the hospital.
So that one actually felt really real because that was like fucked up versioning of Gemini. But the original one, there was additional speculations that the prompt of the chat doesn't show you files uploaded, for example, or analysis, and it looks like it was operating on an uploaded file because it kept referencing numbers in it. So you don't see any of that.
It was shared. You can see it.
Are you talking about the student, or are you talking about the go die?
The go die, because if you look at the chat, it says number 17, true or false. Number 18, true or false. Like it was referencing something, but you don't see that something.
I don't know. To me, it looked like someone that was trying to cheat on their homework.
Yep. Yeah, pin it up at the top. You can like go and examine that chat yourself. So if anyone has any speculations that's in it, that's the source. There you go. Now, of course, prefaced with that meme, obviously, because, why not?
The speculation is that the characters they weren't stored and they're not accessible through the chat, or that the file is not accessible through the chat.
Alright, so just to clear things up, Philips did not sell any Apple stock. I'm pretty sure Philips has not had any Apple stock. Who sold Apple stock was Xerox, and Philips sold their ASML and TSMC stock. Just clearing things up. Oh my god.
What up?
Someone said Kumar, I mean Auto, you add so much to this conversation.
What the fuck?
What? They called me Kumar. And they called me Kumar, and then they're like, I mean Auto.
What the fuck?
Is he insinuating that I'm Indian or something?
I suppose, yeah.
Alright. I learn new things about myself every day. I had no idea I was Indian.
Oh, wow.
Well, we got Adrian. Supposedly he's Indian with a voice changer.
That's the most fucking stupid theory ever. Like, what?
Oh, yeah.
People seriously need to inform themselves over, like, say, what exactly real-time voice changers can actually do.
You know the dead internet theory?
Yeah.
We got the everyone on the internet is Indian theory now.
If I was Indian, I probably would have made much more of a scene when it came to like the controversies that had arisen here on X for like a while. Like everybody was hating on Indians for a while. It was a huge meme because then the more people trying to go against that, the more there was validity. It's like, oh my god, we got to shit on them even harder. So the more people did something about it, the more somebody else tried to push against it. It was interesting to see it watch. Like the only way to play that game and win it was by not playing it at all. It's an odd game, right? Because it's rage bait. The way that you win against rage bait is by not engaging in it.
Real time.
And everybody's engaged. They were like either in support of it or so against it that everyone officially said, oh, I'm taking a stand here. And it's like, okay, it's cool that you're taking a stand. Cool. But like, yeah, sure.
Also, just to say something, I'm just reading some of these comments, so I'm making some points. Yeah, I'm not saying that the US can't manufacture anything high quality, just that China is not as low quality as people think. Like, most of the stuff that comes out of China is low quality, yes. But, like, there are some very, very high quality manufacturers in China. Very, very high quality. Better quality than things in other countries can produce. Like if you look at, for example, if you look at steel production, U.S. steel is like decades behind everyone else, right? Japan steel literally tried to buy them and modernize them a bit, and they started protesting, and they're like, no, this is a national security issue. And the Biden administration said they're going to block it, and Trump said he's going to block it, and everyone's getting involved. And meanwhile, fucking U.S. Steel is dying. They just can't compete because it's like years behind everyone else.
This is nice. So I'm looking at like the NFL portal right now.
I saw that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is great. Huh. I'm looking at some stuff. One of the Calci reps follows me? That's crazy. Interesting. Very interesting, actually. All right. Here, is anybody saying anything, or is like?
I was reading something.
Why does okay? So I was watching Andrew's video that he kind of tagged me in. Why does every single like liberal Gen Z person do the same? You know,
Yes,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Why do they all look like that? What the fuck is up with that? Is that like a trend? Is that like a style?
I would assume it probably is, yes.
I feel like there's a few genres of this. Like, I feel like there's like the perm, kind of curly.
There's like the Harry system. Yeah, the Harry system.
Oh, okay. Just like the really gay one.
It's like the halfway thing. So what I mean is there's a new hairstyle where people said, okay, we're not going to go crew cut, we're going to go half crew cut with a bucket thing. So now we're going to look like a bunch of mops. That's the new style. The new style is turn your hair into a fucking mop. There's 2 options for you. 3 options, actually. Maybe 4. Okay? Let's consider 4 main options. You got the surfer dude hair, which is relatively long. You get the super long thing that you then start tying up. Like, you look like a fucking Jedi Grandmaster type of deal, but like you actually kept the hair. Or you shave it all off and look like you came straight from the army. Granted, it's pretty good, all right? I'm not going to knock it. That's all right. Or you go like 1920s, that kind of situation. You know, there's only these 4 options. Everything in between looks kind of sus. I'll be real with you.
The mullet
like the
is
new
back.
thing where people tear off. Wait, go ahead.
The mullet is back.
The mullet just looks strange as shit, and I hope that nobody else just continues. Like, if you put a mullet on, instantly, like, your personality and the way that you're perceived in public, like, it goes down 5 points on the social score. If there's like a point system of 10, it goes down by 5 for wherever you're at. Negative if you have a certain type.
I'm out in the country. I don't like. I see someone with the mullet. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. But like, when I'm in the city and I see it on some like vegan lib, I'm like, absolutely not.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I think the mullet is something that only some people can pull off. It's not like a general.
Yeah,
thing.
like say for instance, if you work out a decent amount, you got if you got a special thickness of hair, that works out pretty well for you. You know, but if you're gonna go full fucking degen mode, there's not really that much hair there to begin with. You're just gonna look like a fucking horse in all the wrong ways. You're not going stud mode here. You're doing whatever else that is. I'm not sure what that is, but I haven't figured out a way to classify it yet. So you're escaping my imagination, which is wild. But seriously, I don't understand what this new trend is where it's like, hey, we had the bucket cut, you know, so all like the bowl cuts, you know, somebody puts a bowl in your head and just cuts off the edge. Okay, you know, hey, we're going to hybridize that with a crew cut, basically shave off all the sides and make you look like a fucking mop. What's up with that?
Okay. Did you guys see that Justin Trudeau said that he's gonna ban like 3 Canadians, and he's gonna ban immigration to Canada for like 3 years.
I didn't see that.
He's gonna stop all immigration to Canada for 3 years.
A little lazy now, but sure. Oh yeah.
What? Yeah, trying to save his ass for an election.
The heat is on, you know. The heat is fucking unequivocally on. But yeah, so
Holy shit, look up Beavis and Butthead. That's their haircut.
that's what I'm saying. I know. It's annoying. But anyways, there was like a point in time where you had before Roblox was a thing, man. They turned their hair fucking perfectly geometric, like square.
Yeah.
Not even like square, like it was rounded and super. It's like super flat on the sides. It's round and it's super fucking flat at the top.
Yeah.
I have no idea why that ever became a thing, but I'm kind of here for it still. Like, if you can pull that off, go for it. I don't actually care. That's fine. That's great. You do your thing. That's actually pretty innovative. If you haven't got the hair thickness and you have like super, super curly hair and you're able to turn your hair into something that is geometrically precise, go for it. 100% go for it. But looking like a mop, and actually imagine going to a hairdresser getting this and a hairstyle that makes you look like a human mop and paying for that shit. How dumb are you? Like, seriously, you can do this shit yourself. You basically do the fucking bowl cuts, then trim it out a little bit, shave off the fucking sides, and there you go. Oh, and never comb your hair. Really fuck it up after you come out of the shower. Like, really bury your head in the fucking towel and make sure you look like basically some sort of electrocuted bird. Then you let that shit dry a little bit, and there you go. You just mimic the hairstyle. Depends on your thickness of hair, depends on what kind of hair you have entirely, but that's how it works. So no group would say, yeah, that's cool. You've put yourself into a conceptual echo chamber of the worst kind. That's remarkable to me. That is actually remarkable.
Actually, sounds really funny. Let me just say this one thing. You know how there's like the trend of like influencers going to Japan and like kind of disrespecting their culture and everything?
Yeah.
Well, now the Japanese have unveiled these new signs inside their public transit.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a picture of like a bird dancer with like an anti symbol through it, and it says "No circus performance" underneath. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's been there for a while. Yeah.
What about the guy who went to Korea and he's not like allowed to leave?
Johnny Somali. Yes.
Oh, it's Somali.
It's been like that for a while now.
15, 16 years or something. Yeah, it could be a big sentence.
See, the thing, Japan is too polite. When they get respected, they turn the other cheek. Korea, you do that shit, some random dudes are gonna fucking find your ass and fuck you up. What's my proof for this? That guy. Look it up. They fucking traced down this dude and kept beating him up.
Japan's only like that with Americans, no, not generally other people. With other countries, they're not scared of being very rough.
I guess if you get nuked twice, it leaves behind quite a considerable impression. That's a terrible joke. I'm sorry.
Wow.
It's true.
There's a guy. Apparently. I don't know if you consider him the luckiest or the unluckiest, but he was there. Which one was first? I think Hiroshima was first, Nagasaki was second. He was there for the Hiroshima explosion, rushed to the hospital, and
It's like that guy that went and went to like the elephant's foot, and I took a picture there, and like the radiation is so bad that the camera's fucking up.
Yeah.
And then you're fine.
Did they kick me? I think they kicked me, maybe.
Alright, I will have to get off of my phone though when I make the schedule, so I'll do that in a little bit. Yeah.
Tomorrow's gonna be a blast off.
Oh yeah, big time. Are we gonna have IFT live recorded again? What happened?
Diablo 4 is cooked.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I uninstalled that shit. Fuck that game.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
All your money went to waste. The money you spent on Diablo 4 went to waste.
Hey, can you elaborate?
You bought garbage.
Okay, thank you.
I did too.
Right, what happened to make you say that specifically?
Well, I will tell you whatever, given that I'm basically one of the people who plays it through to the end. The difficulty is unacceptable. The quality in terms of stability is equally as unacceptable, though not entirely shit. Doesn't crash as much as it used to, but it still kind of does. The bugs are remarkable, and are the only thing that make the game relevant, in case of the necro bug. What else is there? Blizzard being Blizzard, of course, if you've ever played Call of Duty, whenever Blizzard releases a new gun, what happens? That gun is the most overpowered thing ever. Right? You have to buy the next battle pass, you have to grind through it and get that gun, because you already know that when you get it, you're gonna be running around a fucking war zone with a loadout that's extremely stupid. You're gonna fucking like wall bang people out of the middle of nowhere. You're basically unkillable because whatever comes into your sights is long dead before it could even put up a fight. The same thing, of course, is a fact for the Spurtborn. They decided, hey, I looked at the pre-release, public tests and everything. They were explaining how it was going to be, and they said, hey, we're gonna have like these gems and everything. Like we're gonna have the gems. Like the gems boost your damage to a certain extent as well, right? When I saw that they had a new version of gems, which was going to be of higher quality, I was like, wait a minute. The damage numbers are going to be insane. So either they're going to make the game more difficult and keep the damage the same, or somehow lower the damage. Well, what happened was the damage was kept the same, because that's how Blizzard works, and they made the game more difficult. Instead of 4 levels of difficulty, we now have 10?
Yeah, something like
With
that.
Torment 4 being so fucking high that basically, if you're an average player, you're not going to get it. It's not really going to work. It's going to be boring shit for you because everything is remarkably difficult to kill. And we can just like run around and practically 1 to 2 shot everything because the Spiritborn is basically cracked. There's on average billions and billions of damage. That's the average.
Trillions. Yeah.
No. Listen, let me talk. On average, there's billions. That's the only way they can defeat the content. You know what other class does this? None. None of them have the same level of performance. Maybe like a necro, you have like whatever that's called, not even bone spear, but the one that like keeps extracting souls out of shit. Yeah, that one. Maybe that one. That one can't even do a 150 hit. It does a 120 in 14 minutes. It can't even do higher pits than that. It just sits there. 14 minutes. For a 120 level pit, the max by the way is now 150. And the only reason why the 150 pit is beatable by the Spiritborn is because of the way it's built. I'll get into that one. Somehow, they made it so that the life, your HP and everything, your max life, adds up to the damage in some way. Oh, and you may think, that killing the big enemy and prioritizing that is going to kill it. No. What you have to do is get in a little circle, cast a circle down, then kill the small enemies in that circle, and that then kills the big guy. So you are going into pit 150, and you are one-shotting the boss at the end of that match, which is like trillions of health or whatever the fuck it has. The only reason why that's possible is because you can kill the small enemies. So if you get lucky, you get a match with a boss at the end that has small enemies. So if you kill the small enemies, it kills the big dude. The Spiritborn is the only fucking character that can do this. And as a result of being the only character that can do this, it is the only one that can actually finish the 150 pit. Hell, they fucking finished that shit in 2 minutes. Even less than 2 minutes. That's how broken that fucking class is. And I knew it. I fucking knew it. I said, dude, 150 pit next season is going to be easy to attain. I already knew it because the damage is going to be insane. It has to be. And it was. It's even more insane than I could have possibly assessed in the beginning.
Hold on. DOJ antitrust officials have decided to ask a judge to force Google to sell off its Chrome browser.
Oh, shit.
Wow. But to who? And for how much? It's a money sink.
That's a good question as well, right? Because who's going to maintain Chromium?
For Google's favor, right? Because Google only generates revenue from people using the web.
Yeah, but like if Google is selling off Chrome, who's going to maintain Chromium? You know, the open source project behind Chrome that most browsers run on, other than Firefox.
This is wild. If Google's forced to sell for Chrome, it literally has no bearing of any kind. Like, you're not hurting Google at this point, but you are by taking it apart, but you're not defeating some kind of monopolistic thing that you're trying to fight.
Yeah, it's I am a bit slightly like worried about it too, because Chromium uses the MIT license, and Chromium is like what all of the other browsers are based on, other than Firefox. Firefox is the only independent one, but pretty much everything else uses Chromium behind the hood. So Brave, Opera, fucking even Microsoft Edge.
Yeah, exactly.
All of them use Chromium. And Chromium is an open source project. Right now it's maintained by Google. But if Google is forced to sell Chrome, then they have no incentive to maintain Chromium either. And since it's an MIT license, any company that makes additions to Chromium, like Microsoft, doesn't have to make it public, doesn't have to make it open source. They can just say fuck off.
But hold on, this is wild. So Google forced to sell off Chrome, okay? You sell off Chrome, build the next browser immediately. Like, it's not only you gotta sell off Chrome, you gotta never build a browser. Is that what they're pushing for?
I don't know.
That's just that's insane. You can't tell a company you can't do this browser. That's just insane.
The U.S. Department of Justice is reportedly planning to ask a judge to require Alphabet's Google to divest its Chrome internet browser, according to Bloomberg News, which cites sources familiar with the situation. This request follows an earlier ruling in August where the judge found that Google had illegally monopolized the search market. In addition to targeting Chrome, the DOJ is expected to propose measures addressing Google's use of artificial intelligence as Android smartphone operating systems.
So they're not targeting anything that they're fighting, which is manipulating search results. They're targeting everything else. That makes no sense.
Yeah. Chrome plays a pivotal role in Google's ecosystem, influencing how users access the internet and view ads. The browser, which is estimated to hold about 2/3 of the global market, integrated with Google search and clicks data crucial to the company's advertising business. A spokesperson for the DOJ declined to comment, while Google's Vice President of Regulatory Affairs, Leanne, I'm not going to pronounce the last name, criticized the move, describing it as part of a radical agenda that goes far beyond the legal issues in this case, and more than it would have harmed consumers. This marks one of the Biden administration's most assertive efforts to curb what is perceived as monopolistic practices by big tech companies. However, the outcome could be influenced significantly by the recent re-election of Donald Trump, while Trump previously announced plans to persecute Google over alleged bias. He later expressed doubts about the merits of breaking up the company.
It makes no sense to break up Google. It definitely has to be reined in, but it makes no sense. The only winners in this case would be Chinese companies that can't compete with Google, right, on search and everything. They've been having, even Google is technically mostly banned in China, but that's only real massive internet search and access to the internet. Because even Microsoft can't really compete in there. So this only benefits China. It doesn't benefit US in any way. But obviously, all the weird bias preferring Google services or not, all of that, I agree. But that has nothing to do with Chrome, nothing to do with Android. And what was the other thing? Chrome, Android, what was the third thing there? I guess Chromebooks. AI and Chromebooks has nothing to do with any of that. That's just destroying a strong American company.
I'm worried about the fact that they're going after the open source projects.
Which is silly too,
Chromium and Android are both like you could. I wish they would go after the fact that Google's kind of slowly been trying to make Android more and more closed source and make it rely more and more on Google services. I wish they would go after them for that, but it looks like they just want to full-on divestiture.
But again, what's stopping Google saying, okay, divest, we're going to take Chromium again and rebuild it? Like, we don't have Chrome brand, we'll have something else. People will still switch to that. Like, people don't go to the Chrome because it's named Chrome, right? It's just like even the Edge Chromium, and I was a fan of Edge. I used to work on JavaScript engine before it got replaced with Chromium and Microsoft. So I was like diehard supporter, and even so, after a while, I'm like, no, Chrome, it's better. The quality is better, especially built on top of Chromium. So whatever Google builds next, I'll switch to that. Chrome brand itself is useless.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I personally use Firefox. I don't really understand why people use Chrome, but I just don't use any Google services other than YouTube. So I guess for a normal person that makes sense.
Doesn't Firefox use Chromium like as a hardware, software rather?
No. Firefox has its own engine called Gecko.
Oh, nice. Also, good evening, everyone. Hey, good evening, Ash. Ash? What?
AE, was just poking fun, like Musk's kid, AE12, Ash, X, I don't even know. I remember asking you last time, I'm not going to pronounce that. How do you pronounce your name again?
But many people say Ash as a joke. Just look at his username, not the screen name, but the username, Templar. That should give you a
Templar.
Yeah, if you would be able to form that with your tongue, you should be all good. Alright.
Yeah.
So, is this I think this is the accurate time, right?
No, I think you're off by an hour, because 12 p.m.
Starting, I think, well, yeah, your time is the Central Standard. This should be 3 p.m. Central Standard, I think.
The 12 p.m.
Your time is wrong. Your time is wrong.
Okay. Let me edit that then.
Also, what kind of spaceman are you? This is NFT6.
Oh shit, sorry. I am so sorry. Thank you very much for pointing that one out to me. There's always something that goes wrong whenever I schedule these fucking spaces. Pisses me off. Oh my god. Yeah, I kind of messed that up.
I'm very hopeful for tomorrow's launch. The spaceship is launching tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
hopefully, yeah.
Because Trump said he's going to be there, so like if he's impressed, that's going to be a lot of good funding for the next 4 years.
Yes, I'm going to start it early. I think like 1 hour before the actual launch takes place, or should we just start like 30 minutes before the launch starts?
Yeah, 30.
well, it's not the funding they need, right? They need the easy regulatory path or revamping of regulations to allow them to launch frequently.
Well, my friends at NASA have been like worried about SLS being canceled for a few years now, and if Trump decides, you know what, let's just contract with SpaceX for all of NASA's missions, that would more or less get NASA back into focusing on hardware for probes and just like getting out of the, well, not getting out of the rocket business, but like handing off that legacy of getting to orbit to a company that can do it well, and then they can put all their funding into like really advanced probes and hardware to get out there. And that would just be so much more efficient than blowing like half your budget on a rocket that can't launch.
Yeah, agreed. It's like 3 rocket launches of SLS is basically the cost of the entire Starship program until now, or something like that.
Yeah, well, the way NASA is structured, it's kind of like a temporary jobs market for many senators to show off on their portfolio. So like, hey, my constituents are making the tank, my constituents are making the pod. And then the second that they're built, they kind of like lose interest in the project.
That's also the case of Boeing and weapons contractors.
Yeah, these kind of structures tend to create these Frankenstein abomination of projects. Like the space shuttle was an abomination. It's like it's what happens when one congressman wants a space station, one congressman wants a space plane, and one congressman wants a Saturn VI or something. Like you get this Frankenstein craft that's a shuttle that rides on a rocket and can't fly other than like a brick. So it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
I am kind of curious. What do you guys think like the immigration policy under Trump is going to be? Because it seems to me that what Trump and Elon say are like kind of polar opposites. Sometimes.
How so?
Yeah, Trump's like Elon's talking about like increasing legal immigration and making it like easier to come in, whereas like Trump's like appointed like Stephen Miller, who dislikes even like quote unquote skilled immigration, whatever you want to call that.
Yes, Stephen Miller is a bit extreme, which given the times, maybe that's not a bad thing. But he kind of started the family separation program and took a lot of heat for that. And he wants to like come in with a vengeance, whereas people like Elon Musk want to focus in on high quality immigration.
Which Stephen Miller for some reason seems to be against as well, which is why I'm confused. I'm like, what exactly is the policy going to be?
Well, there got to be a balance, right? And this is me speaking as a tech immigrant. I came in on a tech visa and then H-1B. So there got to be a balance in terms of how many engineers are hired out of American universities versus elsewhere. So, like, you definitely, I think you gotta be fully open-ended at the very top of the top. So PhDs and everything should be fully unlimited. Everyone who wants to come in, if you're a PhD level, obviously vetting the background and everything, but if you're a PhD level, you can kind of say this guy is not some like crazy, like, I don't know, drug dealer or something.
I kind of disagree with that. You want to make sure that the PhD thesis is actually something.
Yes, yeah, you're right. Yes, sorry. Caveat. I'm making a general assumption here. Yes, that it's real meaningful PhD level thesis, but it's like in engineering or something. But like basically, those people who definitely do as much as possible. But I think regular engineers, like bachelor computer science graduates, even like myself, I think the limit that we currently have is reasonable because U.S. still, and the limit I came in under, the U.S. still needs to hire from U.S. primarily, right? You got to give because it has the top paying jobs worldwide. Like Europe, I think the average salary for a bachelor of computer science is almost half compared to U.S. So are you going to favor Europeans, which will take 70%, or Americans? So there got to be a balance there, I think.
Yeah, but Stephen Willer wants to kind of end the H-1B program as well, which I think the H-1B has a few problems as well.
It's still a bit of a lottery, right? Isn't that? I don't remember.
Yeah, it is a lottery. It is a lottery, so your chances of getting accepted aren't even dependent on you, like, actually being a good candidate. It's literally just a lottery. You could be a great candidate and you could be rejected for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't dug in, to be honest, into Stephen Miller's. But basically, I think it's just, okay, make it super, like, first of all, no illegal immigrants. Definitely we've got to clean up the refugees and truly those people that seek refuge, like from war-torn countries, if they can't go elsewhere, which they first got to go elsewhere, then definitely accept them here. But yeah, I don't know about the rest. I think just at the higher, it should be fully open-ended because there's so few in numbers. But I think you still got to have certain limits because you got to favor U.S. graduates.
Yeah, I think a sensible thing is to probably go with an arbitrary, to take your jobs market, take 15% of the positions and offer it to your best immigrant educated, because you kind of don't want to take everyone because you kind of want to send them back to their country to improve them. Otherwise, we're going to foot the bill to improve that country. So you want some of them here to add to the quality of your labor, but you also want some of them back there to improve the country so you have better trading partners, and that's mutual aid basically. I somewhat view immigrant through education visa as maybe it's something like an alternative to foreign aid, where rather than just dumping money into nameless agencies and NGOs and not knowing where the money goes and corruption coming in there, you kind of select you keep the top 15% of people here getting an education, the green card, and then the rest you can probably raffle off foreign grants to them to create startups and infrastructure in their homelands, and maybe create a few preferential trade partners with them, and then you start creating a system where you're not colonizing them. You're allowing the people there to take what you've taught them and build their own countries up. And that in turn creates better trade products, better infrastructure, better global peace in general. Though given the U.S. to try with some areas like nuclear engineering, where they just don't want anything like that technology coming out of the country.
Actually, here's an interesting thought. So if you're offering jobs, that's one thing, but if there's a guy who's coming in who has, or a girl, doesn't matter, who I generally say guy to anything, he comes in and basically they have their own business or consulting work and so forth, and they can sustain themselves. I think even that should be much more open-ended beyond the H-1B limits. Or H-1B replacement limits. And not to kind of... are you speaking, by the way? Or is my phone glitching again? I can see your...
No, I wasn't speaking. It may have glitched. No, I pulled my earphone out by accident, so I might have detected that as speaking.
Yeah, it's showing that. Okay. Yeah, not to kind of dismiss what you were saying, but what you're basically saying is help build startups in other countries. Might be right, is what I understood. Is that correct?
I preferential to like startups in your own, like in America, but the majority of the money should go to our own startups. But it may be beneficial in some specialist or fringe industries where a country doesn't really have anything. If you can get something started there, it may create a new trade market with you. Like if you have, I'm thinking like pharmaceuticals, for example. If you train 1,000 pharmaceutical specialists in this country, and you send like 900 of them back to their homelands, and you give maybe like 100 of them a grant to start a pharmaceutical company in their homelands, and they get like preferential trade treatment for with our chemists and pharmaceutical specialists. Now you've created a market in that country for pharmaceuticals. Although in current year, pharmaceuticals might not be a good example, but after a lot of reformation in America, maybe it would be more positive to health than not. Maybe in this current year, agriculture would be a better example.
Yeah, it definitely is interesting to establish partnerships, but I think every country should strive to build it in-house, right? If it can. Like, for example, recently people are saying, well, look at Argentina lifting tariffs and everything. Argentina is kind of a smaller country that can't really build a lot of things in-house. So for its citizens, and go buy stuff outhouse, like externally that you can't build here, like iPhones and so forth. US, on the other hand, they should build the iPhones here.
Yeah. It's kind of like currently the problem with I guess globalism is that it has a lowest common denominator preference. Cheapest labor, lowest tariffs. It generally ends up screwing the first world and not training the third world to handle the resources it gets. It's like everybody loses. But if it was more catered towards people that get educated here and don't get a green card, but then they go back to their homeland so they can build in-house industry, that kind of creates a bit of a focus where, you already know this person got American education, so they're going to be better off than, maybe not always better off, but they should be better off in terms of specialization. And if they go back and start a specialized industry, like that's someone that you can trust a little bit, or at least you know them better than some random person who may or may not be corrupt in a third world country.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I mentioned a few spaces back, but like educating foreign people in America is kind of like, it also doubles as a diplomatic channel and an opportunity for influence in that country. Indirect, of course, but like I've seen a lot of Chinese students, both as classmates and when I was teaching a little bit. There's an opportunity there to let them get a taste of liberal democracy and then they kind of go back and, well, a lot of times they hate it because they've been trained to hate it, but sometimes you get someone who thinks, well, maybe we need that back there. And so you kind of skip over all the neocon war stuff and forcing your way on other people. And instead, you're just like presenting your way of life. Which, mind you, this was kind of what used to happen in the Cold War, where we did have student exchanges between the Soviet Union and the Americans, limited. One of my physics professors, he actually was an exchange student with Soviet physics. And so he went to the Soviet Union for physics education because they had pretty good physics programs over there. And so, you know, he would tell stories about like noticing a KGB agent watching him or something because they always spied all the students in there. But like also like you know, mentioning what happens in America in the Soviet Union, and then, you know, carefully, because if you make it sound too good, then someone asks you questions. But in the same way, like someone from the Soviet Union in America was like, the grocery stores are more full in the Soviet Union. They have more products and stuff like that, and that creates something of a diplomatic channel between those experiences.
Yeah, exchange, especially in student level, is actually really, really good. Really smart. The question is, how do we increase availability and prioritize subjects in US to give everyone a better head start, but also decrease the price of tuition for Americans?
Yeah, that's another thing. American universities will highly overcharge foreign students if they know that they have money. I've seen this with, you know, children of rich Chinese businessmen. They'll get, you know, they'll receive a lot of money from the parent, and then the student does get special treatment. So like if they fail out of classes, they don't get kicked out of school. I've seen that a lot. So that's one of the corruption issues, unfortunately. But they will, like, you know, double the tuition for students like that oftentimes. Or if they're trying to, you know, soften up a deal for getting more grant money, they'll sometimes undercharge them or give them a scholarship out of thin air. It's one of those areas where there's a lot of backdoor deals that happen.
Yeah. The one thing we should definitely do is basically remove the ability to get the crazy amount of loans very easily for students for all sorts of wild subjects. It's literally easier to get a student loan that you'll go and pay off over a long time than it is to get a loan to start a business. And this makes sense for maybe subjects like where the average salary is like $100,000 plus coming out of a top tier university. But for subjects where there's 10 times more students graduating than there's positions available, that kind of is insane. I'm in architecture, so most of my classmates ended up doing like graphic designs or other jobs because there's not enough architecture jobs to go around for that. So like most of my classmates are in debt still, like 10 years after university for me, which is kind of sad. There's this idea that that's something which happens where there's a concept of like overproduction of elite. And that's actually dangerous because when you overproduce elite minds and there's not enough jobs, they get pretty rebellious and they start using their intellect to, like, you know, build their own castles in defiance. You kind of need to accept that the majority of your population should probably be non-college educated, maybe not non-college educated, but like there's no reason why every single person in your country has to have a college degree or why every job has to have a college degree. That's kind of going into like burdening your population with debt and like a lot of problems. And it's like it goes against my liberal mindset to like say that because I'm thinking, well, everybody should have like a top level college degree, but the fact is there's not enough jobs to go around and you can't just make those jobs out in air. So you just get a lot of overqualified people with no work to do, and then they're just stuck in dead-end jobs with a lot of debt.
I have an idea. Maybe we could have like an immigration game show. You know, they do like side races, and they do like coin tosses, and then you could have like a hidden camera, you know, where they go shopping, you give them $200 to go to the grocery store and they get groceries, and whoever puts their cart back gets immigration status.
Brother, go get shotgun. The abomination escape containment again.
The Meatwad immigration plan.
That's what I'm saying, like the abomination escaped his containment cell.
I think it's necessary, guys. I really do.
Oh my fucking god. Yeah, sure.
Hey man, I tried beef tallow the other day on my steak. Thank you. That was delicious. It's freaking amazing. I put it on a baked potato.
Put it on everything. Put it on yourself. Yeah, put it on everything.
Oh, now we're talking. But you might have to pay for that. You think I could get my OnlyFans with that?
I doubt it, but yeah, sure.
Someone gotta explain it to me. What's beef tallow?
Beef tallow is the fat from the meat, also known as beef from a thing that's called a cow. Being sarcastic here, obviously now. But like, yeah, so if, for instance, take a piece of, take a cut which has a lot of fat on it, like say, for instance, a sirloin, and you can cut off the fat and you can boil it with some water and salt. And if you boil it for a while, then the fat, out of that fat, basically floats up to the top, which you can then put into the fridge. You kind of refrigerate that, and you can then take off the lid that forms out of the solidified fat, and that fat is in fact tallow. You can then take the solidified fat and run it through another, oil again to purify it some more, and then you can keep it around at room temperature without it going rancid. And that's beef tallow. Very easy to make.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just a little expensive to make these days if you use like electricity because you have to boil it for a while. So, yeah. Gets a while, yeah.
It's freaking perfect to fry with, I'll tell you that much. Especially if you're making a homemade Crunchwrap Supreme.
Yeah, I was gonna say bone marrow is really good for you. I was quite addicted to that in university days. That was like my favorite stuff to eat. You just get a ton of protein and nutrition from that. And I didn't quite get enough beef tallow in those days, but I got a lot of bone marrow, and that stuff just fills you up like crazy.
I'm gonna bone you.
Oh, no.
Wow. Wait, what?
Escalated quickly.
Well, that one escalated quickly.
You got bone marrowed.
Yes. That's probably like.
Anyways, I'm gonna jump off. I got a bit more stuff to do.
Nice. I'll see you guys tomorrow, Joe, again.
Yeah, great talking to you. Al, Ben, play it. And yeah, tomorrow should be fun. See you tomorrow. Adrian, Blaze, thanks for having me up here.
Also, by the way, if you manage to do so, make sure to hit up our dear friend Scott and see if he's available as well.
I think he's taking a break, but I'll message him. I think he's taking a break from X. Alright, cool. You reshared the space. It should be awesome. See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you. See you tomorrow, man. Sleep well. Yeah, I think by and large, what do y'all think? Do we want to keep the space going for a little while longer, or what are we up to? Or whatever. Yeah,
We're gonna
talk about the bean farmers, okay? Now. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Eventually, we really are going to have a conversation about the bean farmers, specifically when it comes to soybeans and shit, and how, technically speaking, if people want to eat this stuff and they think they're protecting the planet because they chose a vegan lifestyle, they actually are contributing to a lot of damages in the environment. And in effect, if you have to take care of a field full of soybeans, you actually cause more harm to a lot of animals than if you were to just eat an animal, actually. Because basically, that field becomes a chemical war zone, okay? The soybeans, all that shit that they're growing there, in order to keep these fucking things there, you need to basically turn the field into a chemical war zone. What ends up happening is, of course, anything, be it, human or animal, that enters that field will have considerable problems staying alive. Mostly, of course, the animals, which have no treatments of any kind, will then experience a very slow and agonizing death. And it's true. So the next time when somebody wants to virtue signal you with saying that they're vegan, they eat a bunch of tofu, I want you to really look into the eye and ask them, where did you get that from? Do you know how it's from? Are you sure you know what you're doing? Because that's causing more harm to more animals than just eating a fucking animal. Like, on top of the fact that you're causing everything to die in that field, that stuff is not just isolated to the field. You're basically causing ecocide at scale. Because not only are you putting pesticides on it, you're most likely also putting on herbicides. Pesticides kill pests, animals. That's what it's for. Herbicides kill plants, other than the genetically modified fucking soy. That's what that's for. So the next time somebody tells you they're eating a diet that doesn't harm animals, would you ask them, how do you think soy is grown, actually? What about the peas and all that shit? What about that protein, quote unquote, that you think you're ingesting? Do you think the body actually processes it the way that you think it does? Because you always see it on a rumen, right? So how do you do that? Where's your extra? Where's that intestine that you need in order to digest that properly? Just like a cow does. Where's that intestine? Oh yeah, that's right. You're human. You don't have this. You don't have that thing. You have a different thing.
Adrian, did you ever hear about the Sugandhi's study that they did on soybeans in India?
Yeah, Sugandhi's nuts. Hey, you know about Elton? Do you know about CDs and dragons? Yeah, do you know about CDs and dragons? CDs not dragon over my face, yeah. Over your face, actually, that would be it, sus. Fuck that one up. What about the EMA study? Do you know about the EMA? EMA ass. There are a bunch of other ones as well.
There's a kind of technological way you could argue against this too. If you think about it, each field is a kind of computational matrix for new viruses and bacteria that are developing like immunities to pesticides and stuff. So the more fields you're creating, the more compute you're giving evolution to figure out solutions. If you really think about it, like each new field is like a new compute for the virus evolution to work on. And if you give it enough, it will mass produce mutations to adapt to everything.
Yeah. But now that we've covered the bean farmers, we already know exactly what's going to happen next. I love how we have a term for us causing damage to the environment by using these things that people think are not bad for the environment. Like, hey, let's cause ecological genocide. Yeah, that's called ecocide. Wait, isn't that also what happens as a result of the fact that it's true for making the exact stuff you think is not harming the world? Almost like it is as if you ate like what a human is supposed to eat, like there would be less harm to the environment. Almost like that's how it works. Wait a minute. That's right, because that's exactly how this works. People, man. I will never understand. And then you have like the influencers and shit that say, hey man, why don't you eat like a fucking bird? You know? Actually do this. You like eat all this fucking nuts and shit and be like, oh yeah, it's perfectly fine. You ever considered that humans were never supposed to eat that shit? You ever thought about that? Like, there's people that fucking eat pumpkin seeds like crazy. I'm like, my dude, you're not supposed to eat that shit. Hell, you're not even supposed to eat the pumpkin. That's why you cook it. So that the pumpkin's defense system doesn't fuck you up. It's like when you eat anything else that's raw. It's like it really damages you because the defense system of the plant kicks in to fuck you up. That's the idea. That's why when you slice up an onion, it makes you cry. That's a plant's defense system. Granted, it really doesn't do that much, but if you eat a shit ton of onions, I'll bet you feel some sort of way about that. Or as a result of that, anyways. So you have this. And somehow, eating meat, there's no science on it that at all creates any negatives for you. Even the stuff where people said it supposedly increases your risk of cancer is complete bullshit. Or it was assumed. We literally seen it, and it was assumed. It couldn't. No, it's not even proof. It's just a theory. There should be a new sentence that I'm going to coin here. Facts don't care about your theories. Boom. That's a new one.
Did you say facts or facts?
I thought it was facts.
Meat facts don't care about your feelings.
No, I said theories. Facts don't care about your theories. Yeah. You can make a theory about anything, but the fact is still one way or the other. I can theorize that this is probably going to be a good thing. Like with what proof? There you go. Hey, how about getting that proof? Yeah. You want to go harvest proof from that guy over there? I know he's a good, reliable source. He's the guy who says he can be trusted with the dark matter. You know who that guy is? It's me. You can trust me with the dark matter, okay? Like seriously, there's no reason for you to distrust me with the dark matter. You can definitely trust me with it. Everyone will be so fine. The more I say it, somehow it makes it worse for everyone. It's like, do we actually trust him with the dark matter now? Because now that he said it, I'm not sure we should. Like, is the dark matter?
The laughter did not help your case.
That's true.
Yeah, the laughter will add to it, but actually, no, it's an innocent laughter. The laughter which wouldn't help my cases. You can definitely trust me with the dark matter. There you go.
Look me in the back alley. I got some dark matter for you, buddy.
Hey, you need to clock that.
Fucking good.
I might have to, yeah.
Yeah, but you need to change your profile entirely to fucking meet one. Like seriously, that will help your case so much more.
It really would. Like, you would probably get a lot of followers just going on Spaces being Meatwad. It's a good impersonation.
Like, do that, but take the picture where he's like on the grass with a gun. And like make the picture.
Hollywood people will just change it out each time.
I love that Adrian knows Aqua Teen. That makes me happy.
You can thank Gainsey for that one. You remember Gainsey?
Yeah, I do.
The cytologist?
Yeah, the stats guy. I had a friend who worked for him.
Yeah, same. I haven't spoken to him much. I should probably hit him up every now and then. CS guy. They called me when they were at the Bitcoin events and told me that people were talking about me. I was like, really?
Wonder what they were saying.
Yeah. I believe, but unfortunately there's more negativity than good impacts can truly resolve, but I feel like that problem will resolve itself. For the enemy of all systems, especially the ones that are short-term in nature, is time itself. Basically, that's me saying just wait. I don't plan to be shortened centuries by the time our enemies fought each other and gone to the dust. We shall rise again and will never have fallen. Something like that. Did the phone pick that up or was the accent too strong?
Oh, we got it.
Think about it. Good clip. What if the Empire would never need to fall? It simply transforms. Empires only fall if they remain resolute in all the wrong reasons, not the principles.
That's why I love reading late antiquity literature. Did you know we have a letter of the first time a German found a clock when they were conquering Rome? It's like the first contact between German and clock. And he immediately, it was King Theodoric, and he's like, we have to send these to the Burgundies. We have to figure out how to make everything run on time. It's like his actual letter from like late Roman era. Like he finds a water clock in Rome. He's like, I need to send this back to my people.
Yeah, clocks are insane. Like actually, Rome itself as an empire is very fascinating in nature. People, I can usually tell how well read somebody is history by how they speak of Rome. I don't speak of Rome in the same way that many other people do.
Are you a republic?
I remember Roman's fall, which is something that many people just glaze over. I never referred to it for the number one.
Are you a Roman Republic fan or a Roman Empire fan?
I am a concept fan. But what the concept is that what remains.
Yeah. That's also I've recently fallen in love with the letters of Sidonius. Oh, it's like Cassiodorus, who is the primary point man between Gothic kings and Roman senators, and he's just like trying to be the middleman, trying to like make everything work after Rome has been conquered, and it's quite fascinating. It's like, how can we keep the light of Rome alive under these like Germans?
Theseus, you do not kill that guy over there. He's the friend of this person who's going to repair your ship. Nothing like that.
Basically, the funny thing is that the Roman Senate, the Roman Senate survived the fall of Rome for a couple hundred years.
Yes.
And so you have these letters between like German conquerors and the Senate, and it's like, well, what am I reading? This is like two different like epochs of history interacting.
So that's the thing that people miss about the Senate. That it doesn't end all the way, but that's also another aspect that people miss.
Yeah,
I'm dropping a lot of things right now. Nobody's picking it up. It's not very isolating, but it's fine.
Yeah. Well, it survived for I think like 200 years after the fall of the empire, and it ultimately ended because the Germans just got really tired of their bullshit, and so I think it was like, well, I forget which German king it was, but he essentially held the Senate hostage and like demanded they started doing what he wanted rather than just bullshit him, and like ultimately it didn't end well for the Senate, but it's funny to see this German king kind of come in and like do what I say in the sense like, well, you gotta write laws first. You have to we have to vote on them, and the Germans like, no, you have to do what I say. It's like, but we're a Senate. We're not gonna just do what you say. You have to vote. We have to debate on it for a month before we decide if we're gonna do it or not.
Democracy.
We actually there's actually letters in Cassiodorus's letters that are like letters of recommendation from the king, the German king, to like various Italian nobles. Like, this guy's pretty cool. I like him. You should make him a senator. And then the other senator's like, well, we have to debate this for about a month, and then we'll decide if he's going to be a senator.
You know what's stupid is the fact that you will never really know that anything works unless you've like weighed dated about fractions of a week, because that's like information would take that long to travel.
Yeah.
You have to the level of trust that you would have to have back then was insanely higher than today, because today we have checks and balances. You don't trust your shipping company? Well, guess what? You have a thing that's called a tracking number, where you can see exactly where your package is. And what do you see? These pictures are scamming you. So today's trust society is very low because we have information everywhere that basically tells us what's going on. Back then, you fucked up a shipment, your entire reputation would have been down to the shit. Today, you fuck up a shipment, it's like, oh, it's just a bad day, here's a replacement.
Yeah, it didn't help that
Sure, that's why I should have
anything anyway.
But imagine that. Also, the stuff you could buy back then was a little bit different in that, you have bounties. There's actually a lot of interesting stuff that we no longer really have access to anymore. Not that I'm saying that that's a bad thing. But fascinating to see how much has changed.
There's a few letters between the Ostrogoths and Visigoths where they're essentially going around collecting a tithe to rebuild the ruins of Rome, and they're kind of like these letters are just like, you've taken over this empire, now you have a responsibility to take care of it. And the German kings are like, but I just want to party, I just want to drink, I don't want to build shit. And then they just have these letters all this like, you have to be a king, you have to do stuff, you can't just sit and party.
There came the end for them. Ironically enough, that's just the part of history that you're able to read, and that's widely distributed. But the version of history that I think is true is a lot stranger than what you've explained there.
There's a really good historian who is not very well known, called Charles Paul Minor the Third, and he wrote this thesis in the 1970s where he actually tracked the land ownership between different aristocracies in the Roman Empire and how that affected why they did or didn't do things. And then you find a lot of like explanations for the mysteries you're talking about in that. Like when Caesar conquered Gaul, it was one of the only places where the local aristocracies didn't lose their land. For most of the Roman Empire, when Rome conquered something, they took over the landed assets like the vineyards, the plantations, the mines, and they like distributed it to the Italian elite. But in Gaul, because of Caesar's conquests, he didn't distribute that to the Italians because at the time they were like trying to kill him, and that had consequences into like centuries later, because when the Germans started crossing the border, the Italians didn't own any of the borderlands anymore at all. They never did, so they didn't give a shit. They just let the border burn, and that's kind of fascinating. Like Caesar's policies in like the 1st century BC is a direct reason why the legions didn't go to Gaul's border to defend it during the late Empire. Like centuries later, that still had consequences.
Yeah, but the thing I'm trying to insinuate here is, alright, do you believe the Roman Empire fell?
No, I don't actually.
Alright, there you go.
I don't either, and it's you talk about the fall of empires because I think you can draw an important distinction between the political empire and the other empire, which is the consolidation of wealth resources that often happens on a separate private scale. And as empires, quote unquote, fall, actually do is follow that consolidation of resources and power across political lines. And what you'll see is that as the empires fall and new political empires emerge, those other empires behind the scenes just move to where that political power is.
Exactly. We can say that like the empire, the imperial system fell, but the concept of Rome, the idea of its like territory and its culture, did not fall at all. It was just kind of decentralized almost.
If you think the Roman Empire fell, you know nothing about American law.
Exactly. I mean, you have like I'm hearing feedback. No, you have like that was Larcat, I think you were saying. You were speaking.
Yeah, Lawyer Cat.
Lawyer Cat. Okay. Like, yeah, exactly. Like you have centuries, pretty much the entire medieval era of people reading, debating, and applying Julian law, Justinian law, like valuing these concepts as still existing, still continuing. Like an emperor wrote this, so it must be true, it must be applicable, it must be defended and enforced, even though there was like no longer any imperial court proper to like legitimize it. The like not really independent, but like mutually arranged kings of Western Europe decided we want Roman law, we're going to continue Roman law, therefore we're still under that imperial law. Even though like there's no imperial court to like make it happen, it's purely by the will and decision to continue that concept.
It's a logos with an ethos, if you will.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like I like reading like the brief period of Visigoth rule in Spain, where they're like still debating. Justinian writes his law in the east in Constantinople, and the Visigoths are, this emperor wrote this law, now we have to live under it, even though they're like technically an independent country in power. They're like, no, the emperor wrote a law, it's from the Romans, therefore we live under it. So are the Visigoths really an independent kingdom if they're following the laws that have been given to them from the Constantinople court? Like that's debatable, I think. And I think if they're obliging the legal system, it sounds like they're submitting to it, like as a concept.
I think that's part of the effect of empire.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you actually look into it, they were technically still paying taxes to Constantinople up until the Islamic conquest. Where it wasn't like all the Roman taxes, but taxes involving trade and services were still being paid to Constantinople in Spain. Like the Visigoths still paid a lot of taxes to the imperial court, even though they were technically independent.
Protection money.
Sort of. It was kind of, maybe you can categorize it as that. It was kind of like this is the tax to be part of the Roman economy, in a certain sense. It's not like the imperial court in Constantinople always came to Spain to like attack if they didn't pay it. It was just considered like the dues to your elders, so to speak. Like the letters are interesting. Whenever the Italians or the Greeks wanted Visigoth soldiers or aid, they wrote letters like you who hold a share of the empire. Like they're regarding the Visigoths as co-heirs of the empire. Like that's a line in letters you find in Italy where they're saying like you who hold a share of this empire, implying it still exists even though it doesn't. Well, it does though.
Very interesting.
I think one of my favorite little tidbits of history is like the attempt to marry Empress Irene in Constantinople with Charlemagne. It wasn't really like a practical marriage. Irene was like in her 60s. She was never going to produce an heir. But Irene gave Charlemagne her advisors and her imperial advisors, her bureaucrats, and helped Charlemagne establish a Western empire as like a co-heir of the Roman Empire. And Charlemagne adopted these advisors and legal proceedings as co-heirs. The attempt to marry them was like an attempt to like stitch together the empire in the west and the east. But ultimately, Irene was overthrown. But like there
That's wild. I did not realize that Charlemagne married a grandma.
They never formally married. They were in the process of getting married when she was overthrown and thrown in a nunnery. She got ruined. It was a very Roman idea where you can adopt a son and label an heir. It doesn't have to be a biological heir. And Charlemagne ultimately failed to codify inheritance, so his empire got divided between the Germans and the French. But there was a desire and a will to outline continuity of authority across the entire continent. Oh, another funny little detail. In the Fourth Crusade, when they attacked Constantinople and broke up the empire into various duchies, the Doge of Venice established in the contract of the Partitio de Romano, Partitio de Impero Romano, the partitioning of the Roman Empire. He claimed to be a co-heir of the emperor, or something like he established himself as a fourth share of the crown of the Roman Empire. And so, in the diplomatic legalese bullshit of justifying why they attacked their allies and conquered the Byzantine Empire, they're like, well, we're just reestablishing the crown. We're co-sharing the Byzantine crown between the Venetians and the Italians and the French. It's it's written into the legal system when the Byzantine Empire was conquered by the Crusaders. It's we're not conquering the Eastern Roman Empire. We're just co-heiring it. We're maintaining a sharehold of the empire.
It's our turn now.
Well, that's why if you've ever been to Venice, it's full of Byzantine artifacts because they basically looted the place and took all the cool stuff back. It's a tragedy. It's a cultural tragedy, but at the same time, it's kind of good that happened because when the Turks took over, they weren't very kind to the artifacts. So the only Byzantine artifacts that survived were the ones that the Turks didn't destroy or the Italians stole during the Fourth Crusade. I tend to agree with the idea that the Roman Empire fell when Gibbons declared it. Nobody actually thought it had fallen until he said so.
I will never say that it fell. I will always say that it transformed. I feel like all other conclusions are either wrong or intended, perhaps, I suppose. But I do not see it as a fall. I see it as a transformation. See, the problem with the empires is, sure, they always fall, but they don't have to. They can also change. See, the refusal of an empire to adapt is where it meets its end.
I got the quite hopeful. I think the reflex that I've seen from a lot of people to just assume that RFK is some dangerous person just because that's what they heard from the person on TV. I think it's wrong. I actually took the time and listened to a number of interviews that he did, and there's hours of interviews where people have challenged his ideas on the current health system, and he would follow me somewhere.
Yeah, but you can't do that to
I can make eye contact with you. What the fuck?
sometimes it will beat you up. It will beat you the fuck up.
What? For making eye contact?
Well, I mean, what kind of eye contact? Because straight men make eye contact.
I'll wink at you.
We do that.
Oh, you can't sound that.
No, dude. If you were gay and you looked at me or you winked at me, dude, I would walk up to you and be like, "What's up, man? You want to fight?
Yeah, what's up? Where are we going? Yeah.
Really? You're so
Exactly.
You would do that?
Yeah, I would, bro. I would.
I can understand if they like touched you and shit, but a
No, because
Hello, my sweet angel Rita.
First of all, Jeffrey, I'm calling her out. She's really two-faced.
She's Canadian, that's true. She's a self-hating Canadian.
She's not a self-hating Canadian.
I'm not a self-hating Canadian. I don't even identify as Canadian. That's
right. She identifies as an Asper.
Stage Brian.
So I have a question, Dr. Angela. I mean, what are you and some others requesting votes for? I don't understand it.
No, you are not going to use people with hands-on contact as an analogy as for fucking internet roasting.
No, always a weirdo. No, stop.
I like Samoa. This is it.
Look, and Roy Business is disgusting atheism.
What?
I know, right? I heard Patrick Taylor finally got out of jail. That's what he's back.
Oh my God, he was in jail.
Yeah. He was in jail for a while.
When?
For like a couple months or something.
What the fuck?
That shit. So he got like an altercation with his old lady. Beat the shit out of her.
Oh. What the fuck?
Also, what's his name from Prashant and
a little bit. It's pretty cool.
I'm wondering.
Hold on, what about Wesley? Is he the one that went to jail?
Who cares? They're all a bunch of fucking Christian losers.
Hold on, watch. Hold on.
They're all a bunch of dumbasses.
No way.
Yes, they are.
Is that mugshot?
Yeah, that's what
You're a bunch of Calvinist pieces of
How the hell did you get that?
I have everything.
Dude.
Sadly, like,
Wait, hold on. Let me get the lowdown. Hold on. Did he beat up his wife or his girlfriend? Damn, why is he disappearing? What happened?
Oh my God.
Trevor, Trevor was like, it's different. Like, it's.
That's why Wesley just get back.
I'm not wrong with saying this. Trevor is like.
Everybody shut up. I'm trying to talk to Rick.
Read my PTR.
Shut up, LPs. I'm trying to get the lowdown.
Yeah, Wesley went to prison for like a year for beating the shit out of his old lady. Beat her up real bad. I got his arrest record. You want that?
It just says project manager.
Yeah, I know. I'm doxing him on his job and all that.
Look at me. Am I superior Christian morals? I beat my fucking woman. It's so good. Like, they fucking losers. You fucking pieces of shit. You fucking faggot. All of you.
You're not a trained professional.
Stop it. Oh no, don't pick on the worthless Christian faggots on Clubhouse. No, you
You were talking your own propaganda in the Constitution.
I'm returning to you. Let's have a real talk. So basically, what happens is, Al, if you're a Christian or a Muslim here, you're a fucking worthless piece of well. You're less than a fucking garbage.
That's a constitution for
Listen to well.
That's your knowledge. I'll open it up. What is the 10th Amendment?
What do you think about Bruce? Okay. How many years ago was that?
This is just recent.
How many articles are there?
Yes, I got the West record on.
What is Article 3 of the bill?
Last year.
I just want to ask you.
It's been gone for a while.
Yeah, blazing. You do not know more than a third grade about the Constitution.
Just because I'm not down.
Yeah, I actually know.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything.
That's a different case. He's got a bunch of different cases.
So as we stand here talking today,
Is that Austin or talking?
Nice second cut cool.
I can't see right now. Like,
That's like his kind of cool, like spring berry thing. I think it's pretty awesome.
the record.
I like it very much. I'm not sure why I'm so obsessed with it. I gave one to my friend Sue.
There's another one.
He used to it with me randomly. Like, but right now, I'm definitely not.
Because you gotta think, I only knew her for 2 years, right? But I only been dating her for 4 months. So I don't bring that word into the cake.
So I think the majority will agree with exactly that. This version might be better, which is also the reason why people who've considered themselves to be diehard Democrats actually flipped over, which I think is exactly what has happened, and I think a lot of people would reflect that. And even the people who are on the other side still would say that exact thing as well, right? If that were not the case, then we wouldn't have people melting down on TikTok saying, I hope you get everything you voted for, stuff like that. That is also important, right? So that for me indicates, like, especially when it comes to like support for people who otherwise would have never supported each other in the past, the fact that that is occurred, the fact that Donald Trump itself kind of acts a bit different though, I believe, that is a thing that states to me that this movement is neither left-leaning nor particularly right-leaning. Maybe a little bit more right-leaning, of course, I think so, but largely it embraces more the values of the center than it would either side. Maybe that's just a strange assessment and people are going to trash on me, but I think in time you may see that my assessment stacks up to reality a lot more than many others would. Because I'm not a political person. I don't look at anything political. I fucking hate politics. I've said for ages that I will not touch the election with a 12-foot pole. That's why I never make any opinions. I'm still not going to make any opinions as to what side does what better. I'm going to give you an economic assessment. What I'm saying is an economic assessment. This is what I'm saying. This is how things are stacked up. This is what I'm observing. This is what I think it looks like to me. That's how it is. Like, say, for instance, you can agree, let's say, you're a person that disagrees with the style that Newsom runs California. Okay? Let's take that as an example. Okay, but what's the nature of your disagreement? Just because he's of a political side? For instance, if you were, from many policy perspectives, you can disagree with them. But on a policy perspective, you could also probably agree with it. Like, say, for instance, when he stood up against the AI bill, that he comes after means, that's a bit fucked. But then he did something about the AI bill, I think that's actually kind of good. right? That's a controversial opinion as it is, but maybe that's actually good because you actually want to make sure that people that you are the technological center, because if you're not, somebody else will do it. So you may as well say we have a good sense of ethics that we do not want to violate, so maybe we should keep business here as much as possible. Because if you don't, you'll have rogue AI. Now, of course, this is entirely consistent. I mean, look at fucking Google's problems. Don't even get me started. And Meta and the opinions behind who's building those AIs. Whatever. Right? Whatever you want. Is it a good data analysis tool? Fuck yeah, it is. Is it particularly capable? Fuck yeah, it is. Does it sometimes make errors which are really fucked up, like telling you to go die? Yes, it does. These are all problems. But a bill's not going to fix that. It's probably going to make it worse. And so you can agree even if you're against a lot of Newsom's measures, you could technically agree with that one move. You just kind of weigh it out. And that's what I'm looking at. That's how I assess things. I don't give a shit whose side is what side. What I give a shit about is whether or not life is going to be better. Your tribe doesn't fucking mean shit to me. What matters is, are your decisions and are your principles going to lead to a good world? Or are they going to sustain a good world when we reach it and not bring it back down to shit? We're going to have more children. Are those children we have going to be safe in the future? Will they be told things that are untruth? Out of the truth, are they going to be told stuff that is bullshit? Are they going to be told stuff that makes them question their existence in ways that they really should not as a kid? What will the future be like? That's what I'm after. Everything else, I quite frankly don't give a shit about. It's all about merit. Doesn't matter if you're left wing, right wing, center, upside down, inside out, I don't give a fuck. Above the psyop layer, underneath it, I don't care. What do you want? And does it coincide with what I want? And could we perhaps coexist? That's it. Everything else can get fucked. I don't care. That's it. So even though, ironically enough, I give an assessment on something that is political nature, I'm still not political. I'm not going to be political. I fucking hate politics. The best I can do is news updates. Beyond that, fuck it. I don't care. You give me results, then we talk about the results. You give me shit, we'll talk about that shit. Doesn't matter. It will never matter when it's from. Rabbit? I'm with you on not being political, but I do want to observe. I think that the far left philosophically has more in common with MAGA than either could. I think that there is a fundamental distrust of institutions. I think there are things that find in common on even both sides, on the extremes of both sides. If we really look and try. Agreed. The interesting thing is with what you said there, if you ask a person who's historically left or left-leaning, he will tell you this exact shit. He will tell you that what it is today is not what it once was. Again, I will take their words for it, because if they voted a certain way for a very long period of time and decided to say, vote differently, I will listen to that person because they made a political decision. I don't make political decisions. They made the political decision. I want to know why. Right? So we'll talk to them, use their reasoning, and an explanation, and then an assessment, because it's not my own reasoning. It's a reasoning I can make based on the position of many other people. That's how we work democratically. We make a democratic assessment. It's kind of funny, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I voted Hillary in 2016 and Obama before that. I was pretty left-wing because I still am kind of center-left because I really didn't like wars and I didn't like neocons. And then when I was kind of disappointed with that trend, I put my lot in with MAGA, not because I liked Trump, but because I wanted to try a new idea that might be forced to do something better than just rot away and watch the American empire decline. I primarily voted voted Trump this year is because a lot of people on Trump's team are Democrats that are wanting to fix America. I like the Democrats that he brought in more than the Democrat Party. So I wanted to see. I might disagree with RFK Jr. on a lot of issues when it comes to vaccines, but I want to see what he does with food. I agree with a lot of what Tulsi says, and I want to see what she does directing American intelligence agencies to favor America rather than sell it out. These are people that I like more than Trump, and Trump has opened, he's made a wide tent for them to fix America in a way that the Democrat Party was constricting them from doing so. So like me as a New York kind of center-left Democrat, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump because I like these practical Democrats that aren't like ideologues. They want to fix the country. They want to take the values they were raised with and improve things. And I think they make a good complement to some of the leanings of the right wing that the right wing does tend to get blind on a lot of issues that these Democrats can kind of like man the ship in those weaknesses, if you will.
Exactly. That's why I come to this assessment, because I look at exactly who's like the members now of this new movement, and it's like, this is really not that Republican in nature. It's different. It's very, very different. Again, more proof to the assessment, which is great.
Hey, did you see what Shapiro did today with the votes going on there?
He does a lot of things. What did he do this time?
He actually condemned what they were doing, vote counting like illegitimate votes. Like he's taking a more center approach. Where we're not going to do this thing where they're counting illegal votes that makes democracy a fraud. Like we have our rules, we have to follow them, and I'm going to give my support to this Republican senator because the votes are legitimate. I actually kind of expected that from Shapiro, because Shapiro has somewhat like hinted that he's not interested in continuing in the direction the Democrat Party is going, and so like people like Shapiro and Newsom, I'm hoping that they right the ship a little bit better in the party as the losers get filtered out. But no, I can see a situation where the Democrat Party moves more center and adopts a lot of MAGA points from a Democrat perspective and actually rights the ship. And by all means, in the future, if that potential Democrat Party realigns itself back to American values, like they could be taken seriously again. I have plenty of issues with Newsom and Shapiro on a number of issues, but they're putting out the signal of a willingness to reform from what has been breaking the country, and I appreciate that.
When it comes to anything that's legal in nature, something like this with the votes, I don't want to hear what an influencer says. By all means, he's an influencer. Not that I disrespect him. It is that I want to see what happens legally, and I don't care what somebody says. I want to see what somebody does. I'm for the law shit. I want to see action. I don't care. Like, there's a lot of words get thrown around by every fucking side. What I want to see now is actions, and then we'll talk about what those actions are. We've already established what the potential actions are going to be. Now we're going to see how it's going to be executed. We've seen the ideas. Now I want to see some execution. And sure, yeah, he calls it out, but I've seen like fucking literally 15 other people that have done the exact same thing way before he's done it, right? So I'm not picking my opinions on influencers. I'm picking my opinions on whatever is actually being done, actively done. I can say a lot of shit too. A lot of what I say here is completely inconsequential. I'm just saying it for the sake of the show. If there was something legally done, that would mean a lot more. Like if I were to take up legal action against some entity, I were to document that within my ability of disclosure without breaching confidentiality agreements of some nature, that has a lot more consequence. There's a lot more value in nature. So I want to see something about that. I don't care about anything else. I want to see action. Also, what are you talking about with the vaccines? Which spot specifically do you disagree with?
Oh, with RFK?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of the ingredients are dangerous, but I think maybe I'm misremembering, but I think he said some things about I don't think I don't think it's the vaccines causing the autism. I think that's probably like phone dependency.
No, that's bullshit. I never had any phone dependency of any nature. I do have autism, and I was the only one in my family of this generation to get vaccinated. I'm also the only one that has it. So, make that out what you will.
I'm willing to consider it for sure.
Alright.
I'm much more concerned about the mercury they put in them than any potential autism stuff.
I mean, there's a lot of shit that comes out of that. You want to talk about the allergies, but that's the thing which is the real doubt.
Oh, yeah.
The autism is debatable. There's a bunch of other shit that goes to it. But like the allergies, for instance, the amount of allergies that exist today, as opposed to what has existed in the past, much different and much more higher. A lot of the stuff that exists today was unheard of 30 years ago, for instance. Largely unheard of 30 years ago. Everybody has some weird fucking allergy that is oddly specific. And oddly specific in that there is a consistency. You can go look up what exactly I mean with that, and maybe you'll find it out. It's going to be difficult to search for it. It's going to be difficult to find it. Ironically enough, the science itself confirms this. The reason why I came to these conclusions is because a lot of materials are accessible. Sure, they might cost a little bit, but you can actually spend a lot of money on academic material. The only problem is you can't really share it. You can only share like the link to where it goes. You can cite where you got the intel from, but you can't cite it in its entirety because people would still have to buy it. That is the only problem, right? That's the only limitation. So people can't necessarily go dive in there and like read through that. And that's also what a lot of people use as a means to hide their facts, right? They muddle them because they can't get the whole story. So that becomes a bit of an issue. But by and large, there's something there. And I think there's some things of what RFK is saying about the vaccines, probably not true. I think quite a lot of it is. And I myself, as an individual, as a family that hasn't had a history of this exact condition, I can tell you that I myself, as an individual, have been, in the very literal sense of the word, tortured by whatever had caused that condition to exist. I like to refer as autistic people to be unstable geniuses. There were a lot of stable geniuses, but I feel if they're unstable geniuses. I appear as a very stable individual, but realistically speaking, as I grew up, I was constantly tortured by all sensory input. You cannot imagine the level of pain that is. Like, people look at me whenever I experience certain scenarios, and I remain remarkably unfazed. And ask, how do you do that? I'm like, I guess it's just a thing. But the reality of the situation is, like, torture exists, right? And whatever caused that, I'd like to have some answers. And they better be some damn good ones. Because, I work with it. I evolve. Many people do. I'd actually say I got lucky. I got remarkably lucky because I have enough awareness, enough understanding in order to work with it. In order to not just work with it, but live with it. I got the genius end of the spectrum. It's great. It's awesome. I love it. But there's still some stuff that needs to be considered. Still some stuff that needs to be answered and accounted for. Because there's a lot of shit that I had to deal with as a result of this within my own life that I demand a good fucking answer. And the majority won't understand this because they simply fall into this loop and they refuse to educate themselves. They refuse to try and understand it. Then they do the thing that they said they stand against, which is bullying for no reason. Like, oh, you have this opinion. Right? So now we're gonna shit on you and never give you any good reasons. You don't have one. We're gonna reject it. We're gonna scream around. I'm like, even though I'm autistic as shit in many different ways, I'm supposed to be the one that you label as an individual who's supposed to be unstable, yet your mental stability rests on an ideology that is outside of anything to do with God. I love it. That's pathetic. I'm sorry. It really is. If your political opinion is what creates your morality, whatever you even think morality is, that's wild.
There's like weird outgrowths to this as well. Like fucking consider Stoicism to be one of them. Stoicism isn't real. Stoicism is a label that we assign to a particular style of behaviors, particular style of ethics. And then Stoicism itself becomes a religion as a result of a book that was written by a dude who wanted that book to be burnt. Nobody else was supposed to read it. It was a diary to himself, a means by which he could set a standard and set and measure himself by a standard that he set for himself, because nobody else could do that. Instead, people take that up as a fucking religion. That is insane disrespect for the dead. People think they're something because they're stealing a liar. But that's besides the point, right? This is all part of the same problem. It's all part of it. Nobody considers it because it sounds insane. And if I were to say this exact thing that I said today, like a year ago still, people would have trashed me to no end. It is just that I would say a right crowd found me, and that perhaps some people have woken up to realizing, oh, wait a minute, maybe we were wrong. Because beyond that, it's a lot of shit talk. And these people will still shit talk because they're miserable. Look at them. They have to run to another fucking bot-infested platform in order to satiate their desire to be heard for the nonsense that they have accepted to be their reality. They accuse everyone else of an echo chamber, and they place themselves in one and say, now we are something. It's like you're gonna experience the Reddit problem. You're not real. And that's unfortunate. It's a real huge problem. That's why these types of movements exist. I'm not part of the movement. Absolutely not. I'm outside of that. I'm part of only one thing, and that is to improve awareness, somehow create peace by acknowledgement of what's real and what is not, saying what must be said, but not always. Like, what must be said is a very specific definition that we can get into. I won't say certain things even though they're true, this I will admit, because there's a reason for everything. And I don't go against reason. That's like math. You want to like fight against math, you will lose. That's how it works. You get choices, you better make some good ones, because you're not going to be here for very long to make them. That's all that it's about. Everybody makes choices. And even though like an opinion would be very antithetical to whatever side you're on, coexistence is also the only way. Because if you keep swinging too far in either direction, the cycle of annihilation will benefit no one, not even you. No one. It's empty. It's gone. There's a void there at the end of them. Because one day you'll just run out of cycles. All things have a limitation, especially that. That's fine. It gives you a deadline, a literal deadline. It's fun. So, but that's why I look at this and I think, oh, this is very fascinating.
Yeah, I meditate a lot on the fact that, not to go back to Rome, but like the time between the unchecked horde crossing the Rhine and Rome burning down was just 4 years. It only took 4 years of inactivity, of laziness, of not willing to adapt for like thousands of years of history to come crashing down. Not like, I said it didn't collapse, but it was forced into a new context because people got lazy. It had to adapt. Like when people didn't want to adapt to the coming change, the change was forced upon them, and only the people willing to adapt could survive it. And I freak out because you're right. Like I said a few things about like some things I disagree with, but like I'm willing to listen because I'm aware. It only takes 4 years of not listening for something for the entire epoch of history to cycle into like terminus, like the end. Now you have to start over from scratch, and you're in like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Like that only takes a very short amount of time. And, it was ancient era, it only took 4 years. For us, it takes like 42 minutes to blow up the world, which is something I meditate on a lot. Like, it would only take 40 minutes to blow up the world with unchecked nuclear warheads or anything else. Like these lazinesses or unwillingnesses to listen and adapt can have huge consequences in less than an hour. And that terrifies me, but it's a constant reminder of, like, listen, look around you. Things are falling down around the seams. You have to be willing to listen and adapt, or in under an hour, it could all end.
One small thing, though, there is no such thing as meditating on something. You're just thinking. Meditating is the absence of thought, not the absence of the ability to think, but rather the absence of directed thought. Your thought is just in this, like, space of possibilities. That's what meditation is. Just like, I thought, like, if you ask any of the mystics, for instance, from where it's from, they will tell you the exact same thing. Like, when you go to the monks and they talk to the tourists, and the tourists are, oh, what do you meditate on? I was like, how do you even meditate on something? It's not a thing. Just thought I'd bring that up. A little funny thing I was
That's a good point. That's actually a fundamental difference in the Eastern and Western concept of meditation. Westerners tend to meditate on something. Eastern people tend to meditate like as a means of escape, like don't think about anything.
That's like the true meditation.
Yeah.
Thought is problem solving. You could potentially call it meditation, but it really doesn't go to the concept of what it is. We have chilling out, they have meditation. Chilling out for us is just sitting there and thinking about something in this, like, space of possibility. They want to disconnect from reality and kind of embrace the nature of whatever reality really is to them. Embrace the universe. That's what I like about meditation in that sense. Although I don't do it that much, I actually think about stuff a lot more than I just meditate, because it may sometimes reorganize a lot of your thoughts, perhaps. But at the same point, I kind of just sit there in dead space and think. I'm like, interesting. Think about what I did. Think about what I want to do, how to get there, how far I am along with where I want to be. And then just kind of come back to it. It's a great way to organize information as well. Which is, by the way, what allows this show to happen. Like, the reason why I do a show here is because I just need a creative outlet. That's what it's all for. That's why I'm actually here on X. That's the only reason why. So I wanted a creative outlet because I have all these ideas, all these thoughts, all the ways of which you can put things together, and yet nobody who is open enough to hear them. So I said, if the small echo chamber will not hear me, I shall exit it and enter into the world. This place. Although it is, to a certain extent, an echo chamber, perhaps, there's still enough variation that a foreign thought can enter and be considered. That's what I like about this place. It's like you bring it in, consider it, look at the merit of it, and then output it and say, okay, you know what? This is actually quite true. So you have a standard. You have a standard for yourself. You have science that actually occurs. Isn't that awesome? You're not a scientist, but a practitioner of a concept, which is the only science that there is. Not a thing, but a concept. Concept and principles. It's all. Everything else is just a thing that transforms over time and maybe even disappears. Like it reaches its final point. But before that, you just have raw potential. That's all we have. That's great. I think about it all the time. It's actually unfortunate there's some things in this world that cannot be said. But there's so many other things that definitely can and should. And those are the things that I try to say as much as I can. And as well as I can. Because everything else would just scare everyone shitless. And they would have no purpose. That's not my thing to tell.
nor my thing to be asked about. This I will always deny.
He even disappears.
Any existence predestined. I'm just simply, fuck you. I'm not going to talk about this, but we can talk about XYZ. You probably have heard me say that many times.
Oh yeah.
Like Alex Jones, for instance, like, hey, what can you tell me about this thing over here? I'm like, I don't really know anything about that, but if you talk about this thing, you'd be inclined to do so. My personal favorite was when he wanted to talk about Neuralink. So I basically brushed up on some of the stuff that Neuralink does. Came into the space where it says, all right, let's talk about SpaceX. I'm like, motherfucker. I was totally unprepared to talk about Neuralink. So that was because of the solar eclipse. That was interesting. It was the first time where I felt as though what I would say next could have actual impact. Because he was asking me this question. I was like, hey, what would you say? I told everyone just enjoy it. Nobody panic. Nobody go crazy. Just enjoy it. I really wanted to show that as much as possible. Even cited a historical example of saying, there had always been fears around this in the past, but now we have the ability to understand that we do not actually have to fear this, and that we can enjoy it. And even if you believe that something would potentially happen, the way you describe it would make it so that there would be no way out of it. So even then, would you still panic? Would you enjoy whatever you had left, even if something were to come to an end? Did you have fun? That's what I left it with. I just said, even if you want to think about something that could be panicking, just don't. Because look, even if you say, hey, everything is going to die on that very same day, what are you going to do? If there really is nothing for you to do, wouldn't you want the last thing you did to be something where you say, yeah, I feel like as though I've been accomplished? Think about that, you know?
Yeah.
Even with the last thing Alex was like, the last time I was on there, he asked me if I could say one thing to the world. There's only one thing. Don't be afraid. You know the best stuff that has ever happened to anyone? Is when you assess risk and you say, don't be the adrenaline junkie that jumps off this fucking rock into a watery pit. That's not the risk you're after. Stupid. It's reckless. But what if you had a mission in mind? Would actually do tremendous good. What if you wanted to go for that? That would risk things for you as well. Those things, those moments where you say, yeah, I really don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm going to try this and see how well it works out. I can stop until we accomplish it. Those moments. The amount of times that I've had the most fun was like, I have no idea how I'm here, but I'm here, so let's see what I can do with this. Those are the best things. And I would have done absolutely none of them if I was afraid. Sure, I was concerned. Sure, I had fear in some way. But you had courage. And that's all that was needed. That's all you'll ever really need. You will hardly ever have assurances. Maybe you'll have some assurances, but reality is so chaotic that even that can be called into question. So at the end of the day, you say, did I do everything right? Was everything okay? Was I reckless?
Those things, those moments.
You can be concerned. You can be fearful even. But largely be courageous. Recklessness is the end of all reason, all principles, and all sense of self. It is the actual thing that precedes an act that throws away all the good and all the bad and everything that is whatever you want it to be that equates to your life. That's recklessness.
Perhaps.
Give you an example. So imagine there's a pool, you're on a roof, you're going to jump into the pool and make a big scene. So you know, why not? Water bomb! However, the pool's not deep enough, so you hit your head in it. Now your neck is broken. You're a fit dude that probably could have had their entire life laid out in front of them, paved well, in smooth stones or in perfect tar. And you throw that all away with this one reckless act. Why did you do that? So instead of asking yourself, why did you do that after you did it, ask yourself, why should you? If somebody suggests something that's extremely reckless, why should you? Yeah, that's kind of stupid. Oh, hey, let's go get super fucking drunk and start driving this car. Yeah, nah, I'm good. You guys do whatever you do. I'm going to tell you not to do it because it could be dangerous, but I'm going to head this way. I'm probably going to walk home, you know? The courage to say no to those things is remarkable. Because you'll be shamed for it. Because it's to be a normal thing to do. Hey, let's everybody get super fucked up and drink our lives away and then vomit in some bush somewhere, and then a random mugger comes around, ties our asses up or some shit, steals our stuff. Given that one of you is probably super defiant, probably try something, then you get the risk of being stabbed, shot, or something to those between. What's that all about? What if you never had to be there in the first place? It's all of that. It's also why I don't get drunk. It's a reckless thing to do. It doesn't make sense. It's uncomfortable. And if the only people that you're surrounded with consider that specific act, or acts of recklessness in general, to be the only thing that gives you a joy in life, they really ought not to be with them in the first place. That's not a friend. That's not friends. That is shit. That is stupid. Now, I know what people think with this assessment. They're like, oh, I can't have any fun. Like, that's not fun. Fun is being able to do something that not just only feels good in the moment, but you look back on it and say, that was a real fucking good idea. Me on a whim going to a random city, then randomly happens to be in contact with a guy that owns a Cybertruck. Now randomly I meet up with this dude, have a steak together, and then fucking do donuts in a parking lot with a Cybertruck. Unplanned. That's fun. You look back on that, and even in your 80s, or like for whatever your age is going to be at, you're going to look back on that and say, that was pretty damn fucking cool. That's what you want.
I really like the way that you were talking about risk earlier. Pretty similar to my risk management when I'm in.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I try to just do better because I used to do a lot of stupid shit. Not as much as many other people would, but largely I was like a person that shy away from anything that was fun and also risky at the same time. But then I looked at risk itself and I said, is this a reckless risk or a good risk? And at some point I said, okay, good risk, let's do it. See what happens. It's going to be good. Cost is not too high.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. I think a lot of people let risk get in the way of accomplishing their greater mission, when in reality they just need to take smart risks and manage risk.
Exactly.
Like, lawyers who tell you no, you can't do that are the worst kind of lawyers. You know what I mean?
Well, it depends on the thing that they're not supposed to do, eh?
Well, but it's about trying to see what your client is aiming to achieve and figuring out a way, like, even if you can't say yes to exactly what they're asking, it's like, okay, no, but how about this? You know, and trying to figure out a way to accomplish the greater objective.
Hey, dance, basically.
Very much so. Sometimes it feels like jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. But it's a good sparring session. You're not trying to fuck each other up. That's how I see, like, when I get in a ideological fight with some of my friends, I'm like, we're going to spar a little bit here, but we're not going to fuck each other up.
I mean, sometimes you kind of need to fuck up an individual intellectually for the greater institutional good, if that makes sense.
100%. That's why I keep trolling people on here, you know? Got that person coming up complaining about his shoes being fucking censored because he keeps engaging with bots. Boy, you're gonna get shit on.
Kind of reminded, not to be a history nerd, but I'm reminded of Hannibal and Scipio finding each other at a dinner table in some foreign court together, and like reminiscing on when they were like mortal enemies, and just like realizing like they both respect each other now years later, having faced death together, and like actually having stories to tell each other. That they didn't like let. In a certain sense, they didn't hate their hatred destroy each other. They were able to respect each other and recall the incredible history that they had both written between each other.
Yeah.
This is a problem I have with New York City right now. Like post-pandemic New York City has a high fear, stay at home, don't take risk mentality, and I feel like I'm like Frodo coming back to the Shire, and there's no more adventures. There's nothing left to do. Why am I here? Like, where's the boats to the Westlands? Because I am bored out of my mind now. There's really just it's dead. Like all my adventures between like Columbia University and postgraduate and early jobs and going hang out with friends and seeing things and doing things, it's all gone.
It's terrible. It's this mentality of saying I'm risk averse. No, you are a pussy. There's a risk aversion here. It's like you're allergic to life. That's what that is. I know people like that within my own life. I'm like, dude, you're always going to have no connection to reality that's real enough for you to make a good decision. So you're always going to be the person that nobody listens to. And then when you actually have a point that's worth listening to, no one's going to still listen to you because your previous takes are all shit. Because you never expose yourself to enough risk anymore because you think as such, hey, I've probably taken enough risk in life. That's it now. And so you feel as though, okay, I have to remove myself from risk, but then you have this misalignment in saying, I have to remove myself from risk, that you have to drag everyone else with you. If you're finished with your adventures, perfectly fine, by the way, you should not say, I'm going to drag you into that shit with me. You're not going to have life either. You don't need it.
Yeah. So it feels like everybody that I used to. Well, the people that I used to know in the city that still want to have a life, they've all left. They've all recognized that New York has fossilized, and they've all gone afar to find their next adventure. And the people that stayed here are just like they're living statues that are terrified of anything and everything. And it's like, why am I here? Why shouldn't I do what those people did that left? But like, it's home for me. I want to make the Shire adventurous again, but nobody wants to. It sucks.
You know, what you're describing is a big reason why, like, Burning Man and going to Burns has become a bigger part of my life. You know, I've found that there's a real community there, especially if you get involved locally. And it's been a way to continue my adventures into my adulthood. I really saw that ending at the end of grad school as I was going to move back across the country. And it's really been something that kept the adventure going.
Yeah, I spent half a year in Belgium during the pandemic time when I saw this happening. I spent half a year in Belgium. I went on a month-long hiking trip in Scotland. I did a lot of things, and like it kind of made me realize that it's not me that's like weirdly still adventurous despite everything. It's actually just New York that's died. everyone else in the world kind of seems to still want that adventure, that that sense of life and exploration and discovering the world. It's really just New York that's died, not me going crazy. And now I'm starting to wonder if I should really stay amongst all these living statues, or if I should go, like, recognize that this place has died and leave it to its tomb. But then I kind of feel like well, I'm kind of abandoning my own home because I'm the only one who still feels alive. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know.
I mean, my personal experience with New York is that it feels like a husk. Like, it feels like it is the shell of something that used to be great. I would go to where...
Go on.
I said I would go to where smart weirdos are at. Like, I mean, pick a place that aligns with your politics or your tax preferences, whatever. But find places that have vibrant arts and intellectual communities. And that's where you're going to find your kind of people, I think.
Yeah. Like, there's a few folks here who could try to, like, build something. Like, there's a sense that, like, because it's such a husk, I suspect it wouldn't be hard to build something here and gather people that feel similarly. I just don't know for sure. And maybe, like to some degree, that mentality is myself becoming like a husk, where, like, I'm afraid to build, take risk in this city, but anywhere else I'm fine with it. It's like I'm kind of falling into the mentality by staying.
I have found in my life that making big moves has been a great way to, like, reset and kind of force yourself into new adventure.
Yeah, and then, my main job is architecture. There's always someone somewhere who wants to build something that's beautiful and good and adventurous. It wouldn't be hard to just look around and do some job interviews around the country and see where those people still are, because they certainly aren't in New York anymore, and sadly. It's something I'm considering for, like, the Trump era, if I should just, like, take the opportunity of things moving around and shifting and changing to throw my sails to the wind and see where I land a little bit. Like just see where is the vitality left in this country. Because I know it's not in New York. I hope it returns to New York, but isn't currently in New York. Seems to be heading southward and westward a little bit. I don't know. It's just something that I've been thinking about a lot for, like, the last year, basically.
I'm a big fan of the West, personally, but great minds may differ.
Well, one of the things I might end up doing in the next 6 months is probably doing a volunteer service somewhere in the hurricane damaged areas, just to kind of see what I can do to like do something positive in the world. I don't know. Like, I hear good things about the South, whereas the West still has a lot of life in it. It still has a lot of vitality. It's just it's getting harder, if you will. I don't know. Most of my friends in New York City that I had before the pandemic, almost all of them moved to Tennessee for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what's happening in Tennessee, but a lot of them moved to Tennessee. And I'd be curious to see why they chose there for some reason.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying about it getting harder out west. I think it's definitely trending that way. I am very far out west. I think it's still pretty good, but it just kind of depends.
Yeah. The thing about architecture also is when I've done all my mandatory hours to get an architectural license. I just have to take the exams. And it's like 6 exams. It's a very long process. It takes like a year to do all these exams, but it's only valid in one state. So you got to be careful where you decide. You can like take a smaller exam to get multiple states, but getting your primary license in the field of architecture, it's like you're picking where do you want the prestige of that license to be in. And I kind of want it to be New York, and then like reciprocate it into like places like New Jersey or Virginia where there's still a lot of good architecture going on. So that would require I stay in New York until that license is accomplished. After I get the license, I don't really give a shit. I can like make pretty homes for my friends while I do something more passionate. Like I really like making video games. I really like coding. I really like biohacking. Those are the things I kind of want to spend my time in. And then like the actual architectural license itself is just, my friends want me to design their house, but I'm not licensed, so let me just do that for like a little pass. It's like, the thing about architecture is that once you get licensed, you're kind of also in the process of flipping it from a primary job to a pastime. It's kind of weird. It's like people who get licensed in architecture and usually end up doing that as if they don't found their own firm, they usually tend to use it as a pastime. Like they have friends that want their homes designed and approved, basically. And historically, that makes more sense because, people didn't used to do architecture primarily. It was usually like this like aristocratic little label you got to serve your governor or something. I don't know.
With the Bay Area is about as much as it is on politics, which is why you incorrectly predicted the election, and I predicted it 100%. That's what I think.
I know two funny guys that they haven't been coming on much anymore at all.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Melissa. Hold on. Jules is saying I didn't predict. Excuse me. Jules, you were here, just like the Brents of the world, when I was making my predictions, saying that I was crazy and that I didn't understand politics. Like, what are you talking about? Oh no. Okay, so there's two flavors of post-election Democrats. There's the ones that are in hiding, and then there's the ones that show up and just lie about their previous positions. Jules, we know which camp you're in.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, Roger predicted that stuff accurately, ahead of time, and far in advance of those who often have more political information than he would have at his fingertips. As a consequence, Roger deserves to be given his due. He was right. He was right ahead of time. He was right far ahead of time, and he was right far ahead of time of those folks who spend their time on Clubhouse predicting political shit. And he deserves to have that given to him.
Mm-hmm. You